Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's UCIC Talk. My name is Gabby, and I'll be your Masters of Ceremony for today's session. But before we start, let us pray together, and I'll be leading the prayer in a universal way. We're grateful for this opportunity to gather and learn together. May this session be filled with meaningful insight and bring positive energy to everyone here. Let us begin today's session with gratitude and excitement to learn. Amen. All right, and today we have a super exciting topic. So does anybody know what we're going to be talking about today? Our topic today is From UC to Korea, Real Lesson Beyond the Classroom. We'll get a peek into what you'll actually learn by studying abroad, straight from someone who has experienced it. I'm so excited to hear more what it's like to be a student in Korea. So without further ado, let me introduce to today's speaker, Angeli Jennifer Hans from BMI 23, a former exchange student at Wusong University, South Korea. So welcome to Angeli, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time. Okay, so like the committee said before, today we're going to talk about From UC to Korea, real lessons beyond the classroom. But maybe some of you guys still don't know who I am, or maybe where did I go last semester for study experience. So before that, let me introduce myself first. Next. Next, please. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Angeli Jennifer Hans from BMI Batch 2023, and previously I had completed my exchange period at Wusong University, Daejeon, South Korea. So yeah, that is a short introduction from me. Next, please. Okay, so first, let's talk deeper about the university. So, what is Wusong University? So, Wusong University, basically a private university located in Daejeon, South Korea, and the university is highly internationalized university established in 1954. And fun fact, more than a half of their students, which is more than 75% of their students, are international students. So usually, Korean university, they have a lot of Korean students instead of foreigners. But Wusong, they have more international students than Korean. Next. Okay, so this is the most important part, which is what should we prepare if we decide to go abroad, or what should we prepare, like the documents, the goals and so on. So first, of course, the most important thing is goals. Why? Because before you go abroad, you should set what is your reason why you should to go there. For example, like for me, I want to go to Korea because I want to learning more about the Korean beauty, about the Korean fashion in business, about the Korean company, how the Korean company running their business, and so on. So this is the most important part that you should to set up goals first. Next, interview process. So, oh, previous. Okay. Next interview process. So, the lecturer will do an internal interview to make sure that you are really ready to go abroad. Like, are you ready to living alone? And also make sure your reason why you should go there. So, yeah. And for the academic, next, you should to prepare the academic documents. So, this is including a reference letter and also the parents' agreement letter, also the transcript, and the important things is results of your English test. In my case, I use English Core as my English test because yeah, this test is way cheaper than another English test like IELTS, Duolingo, or so on. If I'm not wrong, the price is around 300,000 rupiah. But you should to take note, this English score test, not applied to all universities. So not university will accept the result from this test. But in my case, Wusong University, they accept the result of English score. So I can use this test. Okay, and Next, application form. So after you collect all of the requirements documents, you should to submit it in their website. So the university will send you the link or the website, so you can fill all of the requirement documents and submit. And after you submit all of that, you should wait for the LOA or letter of acceptance. So in a few days after you submit the application form, they will send you the LOA that mentioned that you are accept in that university. And after that, they also will send you the invoice. Why invoice? Because in my case, I only got a free tuition fee, so I should to pay the other fee like living costs, boarding costs, breakfast and orientation fee, also activity fee. So they will send you the invoice that you should pay all of the costs except tuition fee. So after that, of course, you should to prepare the flight ticket. Also, I want to give you guys one tip. In my experience, I I am using student ticket from Singapore Airlines, so that can give you more discount or promotion. So you can get uh the ticket that way cheaper than the usual ticket. So, uh, for example, when I asked my Indonesian friend in Korea, I asked them how much they should to pay for their flight ticket, and usually they said like around 10 to 15 million rupiah for round trip ticket. But turns out I only got 7 million rupiah for round trip ticket. That's because I apply the student ticket. So yeah, I think this is can be one of your best solution if you are looking for the cheaper flight ticket. And next, visa application and passport. So after you got your flight ticket, you should to apply the visa. And also, I think the visa for student exchange is quite different with the tourist visa. Usually, we use tourist visa if we are going abroad for holiday. But for student exchange, we use T3 student visa. So the visa is valid for 6 months. So you can stay in Korea or other country for 6 months maximum. And so last but not least, you just need to wait and ready for theater. Next slide, please. Okay, so why Wusong? Why I choose Wusong as my university? So first, in my faculty, which is Salisbury, Salisbury has the AACSB accreditation. So what is AACSB? AACSB is basically is an accreditation for international accreditation for business school. So this is one, we can say one achievement that we can see from Southbridge or Wusong. And second one, Wusong got first rank in South Korea for International Outlook category based on Times Higher Education or THE in 2025 and 2026, which is that's a good news, right? And also because of Wusong have a lot of international students instead of Korean, so they also applied English talk. So all of all of the courses all of the classes in Wusong based on English. And also the living cost is more affordable than another big city in Korea since the university located in Daejeon. Also for the information, Daejeon is located in the center of South Korea. So for example, if this is South Korea, at the top of the country is Seoul, and at the bottom of the country is Busan. Well, Daejeon is located in the center, so that can be a plus point for me because if I want to go to Seoul, that's not really far, and also if I want to go to Busan, that's also not really far. So that can be the plus point. Also, the living cost in Daejeon is not that pricey, and also, of course, because Wusong have a lot of international students, so we can also expand our international exposure. And not only the students, the professors also coming from outside Korean. More than 80% of the professors in Wusong, they are international professors. So that can be also a plus point from Wusong. Next slide, please. Okay, now let's talk about how my life at Wusong University. So basically, I made the TikTok video for my vlog. So this is my TikTok. I also write my username there. So in my TikTok, basically, I talk about a day in my life as an exchange student in Daejeon in South Korea. Also, sometimes I review some unique cafe or some uniqueness from each cities in South Korea. For example, like I made a video from a trip from Busan, Seoul, Suwon, Jeonju, and so on. So if you guys want to know deeper about my content or about how my life at South Korea as an exchange student, you can check my TikTok. So if you want to know, yeah, please do. Next. Okay, next, let's talk about the classes. So, for your information, in Korea, I took 6 courses, which are Foundation of K-Beauty Business and Practice. So basically, in that course, I learned about the Korean beauty business. So yeah, that quite interesting because I learned to do the Korean makeup, also how to uh, Korean beauty and business in Korea, and so on. Also, I take Asian management, commercial banking, digital transformation innovation, and disruptive technologies. Daily Korean, FYI, Daily Korean is one of my favorite class when I go for student actions because I'm not only learn about the business, about the management, but I also learn about the daily language that we are usually used in everyday life in Korea. Also, last but not least, I also took Korean organization and management. And for the academic rules, so Wusong has some academic rules, but I'm not really sure is it applied to all university in South Korea or no. But as long as I know, Wusong applied several academic rules. The first one is English talk, since Wusong have a lot of international students and also international professors. And the second one, curve grading. So what is curve grading? For example, if in a class you got 90, you got score 90, usually in UC, 90 is mean you got A, right? But in Wusong, if you got 90, but most of your friends got more than 95, for example, 95, 96, 97, or so on, you you will not cut A, but you will cut B. Why? Because only 20% of the class will cut A. So if the quota of 20% already full with your friends that cut more than 95, so you can cut A, but you will cut B because 20% of the class will cut A and 30% of the class will cut B and the rest will cut C. So that's called curve grading. So maybe it sounds like unfair, but yeah, it happens because to balance the grading system in Korea. Also, the third academic rules is attendance impact to final grade. So usually in UC, we got 3 chances to absence, right? But and that absence not impact to our final grade. But in Wusong, if you miss one of your class, so in that class, your final grade will got the deduction point. So if you miss one, you will cut. If I'm not wrong, you will cut 1% deduction of your final grade. And if you miss 2 times, you also will cut 2% deduction. If I'm not wrong, yes, something like that. And last but not least, some courses doesn't write the exact final grade. In my case, for daily Korean class, the professor, she didn't write my exact score, so she only write the P or F, pass or fail. So I don't even know my exact score, like do I get A, B, or C? I don't know, but I only know if I pass that course. I only know if I pass that course with B or F, only like that. But this is not applied to all courses, only several. Depends on the lecturer. Next slide, please. Okay, now let's talk about the friendship. So, like I said before, because Solbridge or Wusong, they have a lot of international students. So most of my friends are foreigners. And in my batch, there are a lot of students coming from French and Vietnam. So a lot of students coming from France and Vietnam. Also I have a lot of friends from there. And also the second one, foreigners, the international students more than Korean, like I said before. The third one is usually, uh, the third one is, I think this is a general problem because usually if we go abroad for study or for work or so on, usually we make friends with the same nationality. So when I go abroad, when I go to Korea and I met my friend from Indonesia, I can make a friend easier with them because we are coming from the same nationality. Yeah, I think that's a general problem. And the fourth one, learn more new languages and cultures. So because a lot of my friends are coming from various countries, not only Korea. So I also can learn about more languages or cultures that I never known before. For example, I have a friend from Vietnam, so she taught me about the Vietnam language, about the dance from Vietnam, and so on. And last but not least, yeah, our daily language is English, so we don't have any problem with the languages because we use English as our daily language. Next slide, please. Okay, so next, let's talk about food and culture. So, for your information, the portion of meal in Korea is very big. I think 2 times bigger from the normal meal in Indonesia. And you can share with your friends. So even though the portion is very big, you still can share it with your friend. For example, if you're going to the restaurant with 2 person, you also need you also need to order 2 menu because you can share even though the portion is very big and you say, oh, and I want to share it with my friend. No, you can't do that. So you should order two. And also a general information, food in Korea, a lot of food in Korea are mild in flavor because they usually don't use a lot of seasoning. Like in Indonesia, we use micin and so on, but they don't use that. So they have mild in flavor. And also Korean people preferring gochujang over chili sauce. So for this, I have a short story for you. So I have an Indonesian friend in Korea, and she said she missed to eat spicy food. So she decided to go to one of the supermarket in Korea, but she couldn't find chili sauce because they are only sell tomato sauce and gochujang. So we can't find chili sauce in supermarket in Korea. So they don't use chili sauce, but they use gochujang. And also, last point is healthy ingredients. So maybe some of you guys already know if we go to Korea, a lot of restaurant they provide us a side dish. We call it banchan, and usually the banchan itself consists of vegetables, beans, and so on. So it can make our meal healthier, I guess. And for the culture, yeah, of course, Korea have 4 seasons. summer, winter, spring, and fall. While in Indonesia, we only have 2 seasons, summer and winter, so we should adapt. But for me, that's not a big problem to adapt with 4 seasons. Also, yeah, the Korean people, they often appreciate our effort if we want to try to speak Korean. So since most of Korean, they can't speak English, so they only speak Korean. So if you want to try to speak Korean with them, if you want to try to, for example, to order food in a restaurant with Korean, they will appreciate your effort because you want to try it. So they will not judge your even though your Korean is so bad, but they will appreciate your effort. And also the environment is clean and the people is well behave. And also some cities in Korea, not big cities, they still implement traditional culture. Next slide, please. Okay, and what makes studying abroad different from studying at UC? Of course, when we studied abroad, we met a lot of people from various countries. We can build more international relations. So, for me, if I see the opportunities, for example, in the future, I want to make a business. I want to expand my business in international scale, and I have a friend from, for example, Korea. So if I want to expand my business in Korea, my friend make can help me and make it easier for me because yeah, I already have friend there, and if I want to expand my business there, that will be easier. So that can build international relations. Next, expand knowledge. So because we are not met with uh Korean people, but also other people with various countries, so we can expand our knowledge about maybe the country or the language that we never know before, so we can also learn something new. Next, exposure to new languages and cultures. This is like I said before, so we can learn the languages and cultures from our friends. And also offer a broader international experience. Yeah, similar with build international relations, and also build more independence since we're living alone, so we should to take care of ourselves. We should to do all of the laundry, for example, laundry, the dishes, and cleaning room, and so on by ourselves, so we can build more independence. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are the challenges? So I already categorized 3 challenges. The first one is language. So like I said before, most of Korean people, they can't speak English. So we should adapt. We should to know at least a daily language of Korean. So uh I can give you guys a tip if you guys want to go abroad, especially for the country that not use English as their first language, like Korea, China, or so on. You should at least understand a the basic of their language, and also some information is not provided in English. So for example, like the sign and the menu, sometimes they not provide English version. So at least you should understand, but this is not a big problem because they have the translation app. And in Korea we use Papaku is a translation app that you can use to translate any information in Korean. Yeah. And the next challenges is environment. So like I said before, we should adapt with 4 seasons, but that's not a big problem. And also in Korea, walk or public transport is more than drive. Usually in Indonesia, we are choosing to drive when we are going to, for example, to the university, mall, or so on. But in Korea, we can't do that. We should to walk or using a public transport. And also, yeah, we must be able to read Korean maps since you are need to walking, so you need to read the maps also. And in Korea, we use Never Maps instead of Google Maps. So, uh, in Korea, we don't use Google Map because Korea have the more accurate map, which is Never Map. So we use that to go everywhere. And last challenges is independent. So since we're living alone, like I said before, we should to do our laundry, cleaning room, and so on. And also we should to manage our finances, since yeah, in Korea they have a lot of cute stuff. So sometimes if you just if you just walk, you will see a lot of cute stuff there. And also you should to take care of yourself. For example, if you're not feeling well, you should to take care of yourself. Next, please. And here's some tips that I can give to you. So first, prepare all the required documents carefully. Make sure you don't miss one of the important documents of your application. And next, double check before the departure the important stuff, the documents that you should to bring to go abroad, and so on. Next, at least prepare for daily Korean language. This is the tip if you want to go to Korea, right? So at least you should to prepare how to order food or how to ask for the help, how to ask how to ask basic information from Korean people and so on. Yeah, at least should you should to prepare for it. And if possible, make a domestic credit card. Credit card it's mean not totally credit card, but in Korea we call debit card or credit card, we call it credit card. So they don't call it debit, but they call it credit. Because some of the stand in Korea, they can do a payment with international card, so they only accept either cash or credit card. And also the e-commerce like Coupang is like Shopee, they only accept uh, the domestic credit card. So we can use international credit card uh, to make a payment in Coupang or another application in Korea. Also, prepare roaming data for a few days and buy Korean number when you arrive. So, in my case, I book a roaming data for a week. Then, when I arrive, I buy the Korean number. And also, you don't need to buy a lot of winter jacket or stuff. Sometimes the price are cheaper in Korea because at first I prepare a lot of winter jacket from Indonesia, but turns out winter jacket in Korea is way cheaper than I bought it in Indonesia. So that can be a tips for you. You don't need to buy a lot of winter jacket in Indonesia, but you can buy in Korea. Like that. Okay. Next. Okay, so that's all for me. Maybe if you guys wanna ask me some questions, please do.
Okay, and wow, that was such an amazing sharing session. So thank you so much, Shea Angeli, for sharing your insight and experience with us. I felt like I just studied in Korea without leaving my seat. Now it's time for a short Q&A session, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat or raise your hand. Okay, so I have a question from Jennifer. So Jennifer asked, "Hi, May I ask how you adapt with so many international students? Thank you.
Okay, so fun fact, guys, this is not my first time going abroad for study or so on. So previously, uh, I I went to Malaysia for international conference, and there's so many people from various countries. So how I adapt at the first time, you can ask them about their culture, for example, like, oh, how we how the culture, how the unique dance in your country, for example, like that. Or you can usually I do like this. Oh, can you teach me how to say thank you in your language? So you can do a basic conversation like that to engage your friend, after after that you will go closer with your friends, of course.
Okay, thank you so much. And I hope that answers your question, Jennifer. And if there's anybody else who would like to ask a question, you can put it in the comment, in the chat, or raise your hand. Okay, so we have a question from Muhammad Nizar Karis. So his question is, on the interview process, what kind of question usually asked by the interviewers? Because the interview is conducted before application form, and what should we prepare?
Okay, for the interview process, I only do the interview with my lecturer from BMI. So they asked me about the reason why I want to go there, why I choose Korea, why I choose Wusong. So basically, they asked you the reason, the main reason, so they can make sure that you are really, really ready to go there and not only for having fun, like that.
Okay, thank you. And I hope that answers the question. And our next question is from Kelvin Williams. So he asked, what's the minimum amount needed to have in your saving account?
As I just want to make sure, is it for visa or for what?
I think it's for visa, maybe.
Okay, if for visa, I think because since I applied for student visa, so the minimum amount of savings are quite big, around 100 million rupiah. If I'm not wrong, I forgot the specific amount, but if I'm not wrong, around 100 million.
Okay, thank you so much. And our next question is from Shelina Panambunan, and she asked, hi, I would like to ask, what was your biggest factor for choosing South Korea and not China or other countries?
Okay, so to be honest, at first I don't have a reason why I chose Korea. I just following my friend, since my close friend they applied to Korea, and I just follow her. And when I depart to Korea, finally I can get the reason why I choose Korea. Since Korea, uh we know Korea has a strong business company like Samsung, Hyundai, and so on. So why I choose Korea? Because I want to learn more about the big company in Korea, so I can apply the theory, I can apply their technique to my own business.
Okay, and thank you so much. And our next question is actually directed or privately messaged to me. So it's from Catherine. And she asked, do you think South Korea education is that different from UC's? If so, in what way?
I think for the education, it depends on the university, right? But as long as I know the education is, yeah, we can say better than UC since we're not only get the education from one perspective. For example, in UC, usually we only got the perspective from Indonesian lecturer, Indonesian professors. But in my university in Wusong, I can get a lot of perspective from the professors, for example, from French, from England. So I can know the point of view from each country, not only from one country.
Okay, and thank you so much. And I hope that answers the question. And we have another question from Darren. So the question is, what are requirements that I need to complete, such as average report scores, skills, experience in organization, etc., so the university can accept me?
Okay, so actually, I don't even know the exact requirements from the university, which is from Wusong. Since I only applied, then they accept me without telling me what is the reason why they accept me. But maybe I can say, for the average report, at least you got the not really good score, like A or maybe A plus, but I think B is enough for you if you want to go to student exchange since they didn't choose you because of your perfect in score, but a lot of factor, uh a lot of factor that can impact the result. For example, like your experience, not only your score. And you also asked about the experience in organization. So in my experience, I have I I've joined the international conference, like I said before, and also I've joined the several international competition. So maybe that can be my supporting experience, so they can accept me. Yeah, like that.
Okay, and thank you so much. So our next question is from Gamaliel, and the question is, hi, is there any difference you feel between going abroad for a vacation and going for education?
Of course, there are some differences. For example, if you are going abroad for vacation, you usually following the guide. In my experience, usually if I go abroad for a vacation, I usually following my parents or the guide. So I don't got the challenges. But if you are going there for education and you will live there for a long time, uh, actually it's around 4.5 months in my experience. So I can get the challenges, how I can adapt with the environment. Or previously, for example, previously when I go for vacation, I never read the map. I never can read the route and so on. But because I living alone there, so the condition pushed me to read the map. So I can also learn how to read the map. So I think that's the differences.
Okay, and there's also another question sent from direct message from Briar, and he asked, are the lectures from South Korea open for discussion and such?
Uh, Only for the lecturers from South Korea, not. I mean, in my universities, there are a lot of lecturers from are coming from various countries. So this is only talk about the South Korea professors, right? So of course, South Korea professors are coming from this are willing for discussion since, yeah, if we are asked them about the question related with the company in South Korea, of course they will give us the information.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, another question sent from direct message from Janice, and she asked, are the other students welcoming?
Okay, so fun fact, in Southbridge, there are so many exchange student instead of regular students. So maybe 60% of them are exchange student and 40% of them are regular students. So are they welcoming? Of course, since they are also some of them also an exchange student. So they are also want to know about the uniqueness in each country. So not only welcoming not only from Korean, but also from another country.
Okay, and thank you so much, Jay, for answering the question. And I hope that answers the question too, Janice. And I think that will be it for our Q&A session. And now, as a token of appreciation, we are going to be giving a certificate for Che Anjali. We'll hand the certificate to Che Anjali, and we'll take a picture. So please post with the E sign. Okay, so we will post with the E sign. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you so much to Anjali for participating in today's UCIC talk. And now, of course, it won't be complete without a picture. So we'll have a documentation session with Che Anjali along with all participants. So everyone, please turn on your camera.
Madam T.
Okay, and we'll start with the first slide. So everyone, 1, 2, 3. All right, and the second slide. 1, 2, 3. Third. 1, 2, 3. And that's it. Okay, to close today's event, let us pray again. So I'll be praying it also in a universal way. Let us take a moment to be thankful and thank you for this wonderful session, for the lesson we learned and the experience we shared today. May the lesson we've gained inspire us to grow and continue learning beyond the event. Bless our journey and ahead and guide us to always do our best. Amen. Wow, and we've reached the end for today's UCIC talk. Once again, thank you to Anjali for sharing your insight and experience. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. I hope we can learn something valuable from today's session. And also, please don't forget to have your attention on your quiz in the next 5 to 10 minutes to make sure you get your KPIO for KPIOs. For further inquiries, you can contact our contact person in our group chat. That's all for today, and see you all in the future's UCIC's talk. Bye!